Hi, in this video I just want to give a bit of advice on how you should be using the task card that you get in part 2 of the IELTS speaking test. I'll often get people asking me how exactly we should be using this task card. In fact, I often get people ask me whether you have to speak about what is on the task card or whether you could change the task card. Now, first of all, this is something you can't do. You can't change the task card for another one. It's up to the examiner what task card he's going to give you, and then you have to speak about whatever that task card is asking you to describe. Now, I think you're probably aware of what one of these task cards looks like, but if you're not, then of course it looks like this. It's asking you to describe something. Of course, you don't know what that's going to be before you get into the test. And it's going to have 4 prompts or cues or bullet points that they give to you to kind of help you come up with ideas for what to speak about. Another question that people often ask me is whether you have to talk about all of the bullet points or all of the cues that they give you, whether you have to cover everything that is on that task card. And the honest answer to that really is no, you don't. There's nothing in the examiner's criteria that tells them that, well, the person speaking has to cover all 4 of the cues on the task card. So technically, it doesn't really matter if you do or don't. But I will always tell people who ask me this question that I think it's best to at least try to cover all 4 of those cues in your description that you give during the 2-minute speaking time. And there's some good reasons for this. In fact, I'm going to give you 4 good reasons for following those 4 cues and trying to speak about all 4 of them within the 2-minute description that you give. So just quickly now, I'm going to briefly explain these 4 reasons, and hopefully this is going to help you to improve your answers and practice trying to cover all 4 of the bullet points, cues, prompts when you're practicing and preparing your answers for part 2 and when you're speaking in part 2 of the real speaking test. So, the first reason I think you should be using the task card to cover each point is that firstly, it's going to give your description a good structure. Now those 4 cues, if you follow them one by one, it's going to give your answer a clear and logical structure that the examiner can follow, and it will help them to understand what you're saying. If you don't use those cues, your answer could lack structure and be a bit confusing to listen to. And of course, this could affect your coherence or fluency and coherence band score that the examiner is going to give you. So I think it's worth really trying to follow those 4 points in that order, just because it's going to give you a good structure in your description. So that's the first reason that you should try to follow these 4 points and cover all 4. The second, it's, well, kind of connected to the first, but it's going to help you to move forward and kind of not get stuck on one point for too long. Now, if you're just speaking and not focusing on the task card and thinking about moving to the next point, you might start repeating yourself and really not showing the examiner anything new in terms of your description. Maybe kind of repeating some vocabulary, repeating the type of grammar you're using. Those extra cues that you've got will help you to move on and show the examiner something new. Really, it's all about showing a wide range of vocabulary, wide range of grammar. Those cues are going to help you to do that. So yeah, that's the second reason you should be following these 4 cues and trying to go through all of them. It's going to help you to move forward and not repeat yourself. Right. The third reason that you should be trying to use these cues when you're speaking in the test is that they're going to remind you of what to say next. They're there to help you remember what to talk about. Now, of course, if you're not using this and you're trying to just speak, then maybe you're going to forget what to say. I mean, they're giving you this task card to help you remember what you want to say next. So that's another reason for actually using those 4 cues. They're just going to help you to remember what you want to say next, or what you should be talking about next. Now, the fourth and final reason I think is really quite important, because when you look at the task card and you see the cues, you'll notice that the final cue is very, very often a why question, which is kind of connected to your feelings and opinions. And if you get to this final point or final cue on the cue card, it's going to force you to use more vocabulary that's connected with feelings and opinions. So probably more adjectives and adverbs that are needed when you're describing your feelings and opinions. I mean, you've got to remember that part 2 is a task that asks you to describe something. This is what the examiner is looking for, descriptive language. And the fourth and final cue will help you to show off this type of vocabulary to the examiner. So it's not like you have to reach the fourth and final point, and you could still get a very high band score without covering that final point, but it will help. Really, these cues, or the task card in general, is there to help you. It's not there to trick you or fool you like things in the reading or listening part of the test. It's there to help, and you should be using it. So really, if you don't cover all 4 of those points, no, it's not the end of the world, but it's certainly going to help you to get a higher score if you do try to do that. And, well, now you know my 4 reasons that I would give students this advice: to follow those 4 cues in order and try to include all of them in the description you give. Now, hopefully that is useful to you and you can kind of apply that in your own practice time and when you're in the actual test. But if it has been useful, then do remember to click the like button, and if you haven't already, remember to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any similar videos in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you in the next video.